Mr. President.
Senator from Louisiana.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to speak for a few minutes on two subjects today. I don't have prepared remarks, so I want to speak from the heart. Let me talk first about the CHIP program. One of my favorite people in the United States Senate is my colleague from Pennsylvania, Senator Casey. And he just spoke very eloquently about a program called the Children's Health Insurance Program, which is part of our Medicaid program. It provides health insurance for the children of America who are too poor to be sick. That bill will pass. The Children's Health Insurance Program will be renewed. I want to look the American people in the eye right now and tell them, do not worry. Do not worry. This is an extraordinarily able program that has served the people of this country and our country well, and I don't want anybody to be unnecessarily frightened at Christmas. If you're a mom or a dad or a child or a concerned citizen out there today, and you hear that CHIP is in danger, with all the respect I can muster, I want to say it's not. Don't believe it. The CHIP program will be renewed. Now let me just talk a second about taxes. In a few days, Mr. President, we're going to vote on a tax system. And that vote will be a vote, as much as anything, on people's opinion about the current tax system. No reasonable person can look at America's current tax system and be impressed. For one thing, it's enormously complicated. It is 10 million words. You can stand on it and paint this ceiling. But I don't want to just talk about technicalities here, because most Americans, they don't have time to worry about Section 106A or Section 807B. They're too busy getting up every day and going to work and obeying the law and paying their taxes. They just want to know what the bottom line is. So let me tell them what the bottom line is. We're going to pass a tax bill that's going to cut about $1.4 billion in taxes on the American people and the American businesswomen and the American businessmen over 10 years. Let me talk first about the impact on people, ordinary people, Mr. President, like you and me. We're going to double the standard deduction. Why is that important right now? About 70% of Americans take the standard deduction. After we double it, probably about 90% will. The president's right. You'll be able to file your taxes on a postcard if you want to. For Americans who have children, we're going to double the children's tax credit. We're going to lower every marginal tax rate. And I know you've been told that we're only going to help the wealthy. That's just not true. We're lowering every single tax rate. I'm very proud of the fact, Mr. President, that this bill doesn't end, but it starts with helping our middle class. In my state, a mom and dad working hard, making $75,000 a year. Mom makes $30,000+, dad makes $30,000+, they have 2 children. Right now, they pay about $3,500, $3,700 in federal income taxes. Now, of course, that's not all they pay. They pay payroll taxes, and they pay state taxes, and they pay local taxes. In fact, government taxes everything now, at all levels. Government now taxes the food we eat, the clothes we wear, the cars we drive, the homes we live in. Government started to think it owns all our money. Government taxes us when we work. Government taxes us when we play. Government taxes us when we die. So when I tell you that a couple making $75,000 in my state is paying $3,750 roughly in federal income tax, I don't want you to think that's all. But the point I'm trying to make is, Mr. President, after we pass this bill, that couple's going to pay about $1,500, $1,700, $1,400 in federal income taxes. That mom and dad that, as I said before, get up every day and go to work and obey the law and try to do the right thing by their kids and try to save a little money for retirement and try to teach their children values is going to have an extra couple of $1,000s in their paycheck. And that's a lot of money. It is to me, Mr. President, and I know it is to you. And it's going to be a lot of money for that mom and dad. This bill is also going to help every businesswoman and businessman in America. Yes, it's going to help our large corporations. Right now, we tax them at a rate of 35%. This bill is going to reduce that to 21%. But it's not just going to help large businesses. It's going to help small businesses as well. I'm talking about the subchapter S corporations and the LLCs and the LLPs and the sole proprietorships. I'm talking about the family farms. I'm talking about the American who decided to take a risk to create some jobs, start a small business, went and took a second mortgage on her home, maybe employs 4 or 5 people. If she fails in her business, government's not going to be there to bail her out. She's going to lose her home. But she wants to take a risk, to be her own boss, to create jobs in America. We're going to cut her taxes too. The pass-through rate, the top marginal tax rate by my calculations after this bill is passed, is going to be about 29.6%. Right now, the top marginal tax rate for that businesswoman would be about 43%. And you say, well, the small businesses get 29%, 6% rate. How come the big corporations get 21%? Because the big corporations pay taxes twice. Saying they're going to pay 21% of our bill isn't the only part of it. They also, when they declare dividends, have to pay taxes again. So that's the reason for the disparity. Now let me tell you why this is important. So many of my colleagues, in fact, every one of my colleagues in the United States Senate, says they're for jobs. We're all for jobs. But you can't be for jobs if you're against business. You can't. And businessmen and businesswomen need 4 things from government. They need reasonable regulation, not no regulation, reasonable regulation. They need a decent infrastructure. They need a skilled workforce, and they need low taxes. And that's what government's supposed to provide. And then in a free enterprise system like ours, government needs to get out of its way and let the free enterprise system work, which has lifted more people out of poverty than all the social programs put together. Our bill is going to provide the lower taxes. We have a lot of differences of opinion in this body. Some of my colleagues, most of whom happen to be Democrats, believe that it is possible to tax this country into prosperity. Once again, I say this with all the respect I can muster. They're in good faith in believing that. This is America. You can believe what you want. But if they believe that, they were in the quad throwing the Frisbee during Economics 101. And that's just a fact. Now, some of the opponents of this bill have suggested that tax policy has absolutely nothing to do with your economy, with economic growth. Once again, with all the respect I can muster, I would ask them very respectfully, what planet did you just parachute in from? Average Americans understand Ordinary Americans understand, people who work for a living understand that when you tax something, you get less of it. And when you tax it less, you get more of it. This is a solid bill, Mr. President. It's not perfect. If I were king for a day, I'm not, and I don't want to be. I would make some changes. But reasonable people disagree sometimes. And I believe this body will come together. I hope we get some Democratic votes, because I think in their heart, some of our Democratic friends want to vote for this bill. They do. We'll see whether they do or not, but I believe they do. But we're going to pass this legislation, and the American people are going to be better off. And it's not going to add to the deficit. I would not vote for this legislation if I thought it would hurt us long term in terms of our deficit. Thank you, Mr. President. With that, I will suggest the absence of a quorum.